2-1, nope. Alright, welcome. We are working on the Stencil Graffiti tutorial. We have our instructions here. We'll be setting off by making sure we have our workspace set correctly. This is just a good idea for you guys to know. Here is the workspace up here. Alright. We're going to be taking this photograph of a guy on a skateboard and kind of turning it into a stencil and putting it up on a wall is the final step for this. Little known fact, Mr. Feeney did his master's thesis on stencil graffiti art, so I will show you that example later. Alright, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be checking out these things. We're going to locate the layers palette on the bottom right hand corner. We're going to take a look at all these ways that we read that layers palette. So on the right, you'll see here's the layer palette. Here are the layers themselves. Here's the background layer. Here is the skateboarder. He's on his own layer. He's been isolated. We've got effects, new layers, trashing layers, all types of fun stuff here. It goes from the top to the bottom. We all know that. That's the layer, the locked layer, and these are layer adjustments down here. It looks like a black and white cookie. If anybody's ever had those, they're delicious. All right, number 4. Highlight the skateboarder image layer by clicking on the word skateboarder, and clicking on the word versus clicking on the different parts when you're right-clicking especially does different things. So be aware of that when you are clicking on the layer itself. Different parts of this layer do different things. So I clicked on that layer. I have made it active, and then I'm going to click on the adjustments icon in the bottom of the layers palette and create a threshold layer. Threshold kind of just turns things black and white. So I'm going to go down to the threshold layer, or go down to adjustments. I can actually go do it up here. There's adjustments here and make a threshold layer. But down here we can do it as well. Threshold. And see what it does is it makes a threshold layer. Does that make sense? Okay, it's got, what is this thing? It's called a mask, right? If I'd selected this and done the threshold layer before that, say I had control clicked this layer and then done threshold, either up here or down here. Threshold is here. You can see that it would have just done the threshold just to that layer, okay? So either way, we're just going to go by what the instructions are telling us. Okay, so we've got that threshold layer done. We're going to go to the adjustment layer. We're going to look through that and leave it highlighted for now. You will see the adjustments panel on the layers palette that allows you to adjust the threshold layers by sliding the scale to the left and right. We're going to slide the threshold layer to the desired amount of detail. Alright, we're going to probably go around 128 or something like that, a little bit further. Let me see, it starts at 128. I'm going to go a little bit, I like seeing a little bit more of the hair in there. That's kind of fun. It's a lot of work though if you're cutting it out. Then we'll go down to here, and we'll do some darkening and lightening a little bit later. Alright, so I'm done with that. I'm going to refine the details, and I will use dodge and burn tools to do so. Okay, so now I'm going to highlight the image layer of the skateboard on the layers palette, not the threshold layer. So now I'm going to highlight the skateboarder, and then I'm going to start using dodge and burn. Alright, we're going to dodge and burn. We're going to adjust for midtones and exposure, and then we're going to add median noise, set the layer to multiply, and then put it on top of the wall, and then spray paint it around the outside with a dissolve brush. It's really easy. Watch and learn. So I'm going to go into this layer. I'm going to use dodge and burn. I'm going to use the burn tool. I want to see the edges of his arm, so I'm going to adjust the exposure to about 50%. And it's not doing anything right now, but it is. If you'll look at it, you'll start to see the edge coming up. But if you look at the actual thing without this threshold layered on, see what it's doing? I'm actually giving a real harsh tan line. And what this threshold layer does is it interprets that as, oh, I can see it's kind of coming through now. I can see his knuckles showing up. Good. I can see at least see the edge of the skateboarder himself. I can't see the edge of his pants over here, so I'm going to put a line over there. and I'm thresholding this. It's exposing it, darkening it, just so I can see the edges of this, guys. Outline. Okay, so I've done a pretty good job of that. I'm going to do something on the wheels just so I can see the wheels a little bit better. And now let's take a look at the original. So I've really done a lot of darkening on there. I do want to do some highlighting. I want to do some highlighting around the shoes. So I'm going to use the dodge tool, same thing, and brighten around the shoes a little bit, just so I can see them a little bit more. And maybe brighten around the inside of that arm. Okay. And I do want to darken his face a little bit more. I'm going to burn his face a bit more so I can see some of those details. Cool. That looks great. I like it. I'm done. I'm now going to go to my refine the details. We did all that with the dodge and burn. We are now going to see if the image is still too ragged to make a convincing stencil. Now remember, stencils are supposed to be cut out of paper and really easy to apply. We're going to go use the reduce filter to use the median filter to reduce noise. So I'm going to go to filter, median, filter, median, noise, and median. Looks like it's switched up this time. Okay, noise and median, and you can see what it's doing. I can increase and decrease the clarity of this, the sharpness of this. I'm going to go with 2. 2 looks good. Actually, you know what? Let's go with 3. 3 looks good. That I could cut out of a stencil pretty easily, or 4. Alright, so I've got that. What it does is it applies directly to it, so it kind of muddies it up. So be aware that if you didn't want that to happen, or if you want to make sure that you're not just doing the effect straight onto it, always make a copy just in case before you do these things. That's what I usually do. So filter, median, I can still apply it on there. There we go. Now the next step, we're going to right click and merge down. So we're going to apply the layer effect. So if you're satisfied with it and you're not going to lose any information, you can just merge this all down to have just one layer. Alright, so I've got that. He is in white. That's great. And now I'm going to set this to multiply and put him over top, or change the wall layer to multiply, and then it will kind of get rid of the white. So check this out. Turn on the wall, set the wall layer, and this is your different types of layering effects. So this is set to multiply. Okay, it does a lot of differing effects, all depending on what layer adjust, or what we call this layer blending mode we use. So we went with multiply. Kind of looks like it's really on there. It's one of the first ones. Okay. And now I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool to make an outline around here. Polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to do this in another layer. When stencils are put up, they're usually on large sheets of paper. And I can show you a couple of things. Shepard Fairey is one of the premier stencil graffiti artists out there. He also got in a lot of trouble a while ago about the Obama Hope poster, but that was his. I'm going to select the inverse. I'm going to go with my brush tool. I'm going to use a black brush because this is black stencil, right? Black spray paint. So I'm going to pretend like we use this stencil. I'm going to make a larger brush. Set the type to the mode to noise, or dissolve, excuse me. Control Z. I'm going to increase the dissolve. And so I have the polygonal lasso. It just kind of went away on me. There it is. Okay, so I'm in the right layer. Polygonal lasso. I'm going to set this dissolve to the flow. I'm going to reduce the flow a little bit to 55. And maybe the opacity down. And now you can kind of see that it's kind of coming out a little bit more like spray paint. So if I was to spray paint on a wall, it would come out a little bit more like this. Again, I'm reducing the opacity and the flow. The flow is how quickly it comes out. So there you go. I'd set the flow to about that. I don't like what I did before, just deleting it. And now I'm going to set the flow around here. Cool. Just around the edges. What's good about a stencil graffiti is you do it quickly and it should follow it exactly, but sometimes you have a little bit of spray on the outside and that's okay. So you just basically go like that. And now that looks like a stencil graffiti. The further instructions are to add more effects and just have some fun.